I was just joking.
Oh, that
buddy.
was amazing. That was hilarious.
Were you waiting for me to walk away?
It
I
just
was
happened
after
for
you
a
said it.
Dude,
Were you able to hear us?
Not until right when he said, maybe if I walk away.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned you have a glorious beard.
looking really good, sir.
Oh, I said that you look like you were petting the rabbit too hard. Your haircut
Oh.
makes you look a little bit terrifying. You
Like
look
you
like
could be
it's
in a
the
guy-
other way. You look like it's the
I'm trying
other
a
way
few different
around.
things. Oh,
I'm sorry. You look like you're Jacob's older brother, and you're there like you have to protect him from the bunnies that you're going to pet too hard.
Looks like he could be in a Guy Ritchie.
Hey,
oh, that's what I was going for. I'm trying a few different things. I was thinking next week maybe I'll try out Hawk's haircut from Cobra Kai.
I have not been watching this season of Cobra Kai, so I don't know who that is.
It's a good show. It's a lot of fun.
Kid with the mohawk?
Okay, well, that would be why they named
You haven't
him
watched
Hawk.
this season of Cobra Kai, or you haven't watched any seasons?
I haven't watched any seasons of Cobra Kai.
Oh, okay.
I know folks
got
that were really, really excited when it was coming to YouTube, but I never sat down and watched it. Just because it really does feel like if ever there was a thing that existed as a money grab, maybe it's not the show that started on YouTube, but it certainly feels like it led the way for a lot of things that have come out since.
I think it did, but I think they've done this with love. I think it's a project of love for the source material and the characters.
I mean, I'm sure Ralph Macchio had a million opportunities to cash in on Karate Kid, and he never did a Super Bowl commercial. He never did any of that. He just went straight into the long form TV show, and made his nemesis his student. And I don't know. It's an interesting show, and I like that the show. I did watch the first episode. I do like that the show changed the kind of like loser failure person. Like before, it was Ralph Macchio, and in this one, now it is no longer Ralph. Yeah. But Karate Kid is not what brought us here today. Let's run this back a little bit. Now, this podcast. Speaking of rabbits.
Cash grabs.
And cash grabs. This podcast actually was something that should have happened a couple weeks ago, but we're here now, so it is what it is. And I have to ask, my first question is, did you watch the greatest sequel of all time, aka Iron Sky 2? That's questions for
yes.
You. Okay.
Oh, for Jace. I don't think Jace.
Are we recording?
Did. Have you seen Iron Sky 2?
No, I have not seen Iron Sky. Yeah. Not yet. It is on my watch list, but I have not seen it yet.
Okay, well, we'll get there. Okay, so Jace, your brother told me that you like the new Matrix film. Why is that?
No.
First off, that's correct.
I mean,
is that correct?
I mean, yeah, I guess it was like if you turn your brain off and just enjoy a dumb action movie, in that respect, it was enjoyable for the most part, I thought.
Okay, so what specifically did you like? Just so I can poke holes in everything you love.
Everything I liked. Well, first thing I liked, everything that I really liked was really just in the first act. I liked the setup. I liked the potential that they laid out, what they were doing with the story. I think a lot of people would probably have taken issue with the whole, like, the first three Matrix were just a video game he was making up, but I actually really liked that. I thought it could have led to some pretty interesting places if, like, the whole movie, not just like the first act, but the whole movie was kind of focusing on what if it was all just a video game that Neo had made up.
Okay. So then what didn't you like about the movie?
uh what didn't I like about the movie? There was, first of all, there was no real stakes. I don't even like remember, did like any of the good guys die? Not that you need them to die to have stakes, but there was no sense of danger, no sense of like a real goal that they were all trying to achieve here. Soundtrack sucked. Absolutely, the soundtrack absolutely sucked. Needed more 90s and 2000s techno. Those are probably my two biggest things, but like, yeah, they set up a lot of really interesting ideas in the first part of the movie, and none of it really felt like it paid off at the end. Like at the end of the movie, it just felt hollow.
Jacob, do you have anything that you'd like to add to that, or what were your thoughts on the movie?
I came away happy with it. It's going back and processing that there's been more of the disappointment. I loved the first act. The second act, I felt like there was no point with Io. There was no major obstacle that they had to face. You know, that Niobe didn't want them to go off and save Trinity. And she whined and moaned, sent Neo to his room, and then Morpheus pops in. He jumps in the ship. They leave. Big whoop. You know, the whole point of Io was to show that they've been able to start putting together their own fruits and vegetables from memories of people that had been in the Matrix. You know, that could have been brought out at any point on the ship. You know, the first time they pulled him out, could have handed him a strawberry. What's this? We've been able to do this now because of the memories of everybody who's been trapped in the Matrix. It felt just like fan service, but not good fan service. The first act I loved. I loved how meta it was. I felt that Wachowski really put themselves into that. Everything they dealt with from fans and critics, people picking it apart. I felt like it was more about their struggle with all the thoughts and issues that come through. And then after the first act, it's okay, so here's your Matrix movie. I was watching Corridor Crew did a little bit on it, and they were saying that they did not really sit down and plan out any of the action scenes. It was kind of just as it came along. They did it. The guns were CG. In the original Matrix, they used blanks. Also, in this one, they didn't use squibs for any of the gunshot wounds, and they used CG for the blood spatter. They used a lot of CG. Corridor Crew, of course, pointed out a lot of ways that it could have been better in the ways that they used the CG. But I felt there was a huge difference because with squibs, there's actual force and explosion. So the actors are going to respond a lot more naturally to that than, oh, shake your body like you're being shot. You know, so props to the actors. Yeah, exactly. Now you have to go back and green screen in some bullet wounds and stuff, you know.
There's got to be someone on Fiverr that can do it.
Yeah.
That can just take that last 30 seconds and for like $20 add all of the blood.
Yeah. And then another big complaint was that the film was scored before anything was shot. I have to find my source for that, but either read that or heard that in an interview that the musical, I think there was two people involved. They had scored it before they'd even seen the film. And it was, for me, very lackluster. It sounded very orchestral, which isn't a bad thing. But in the previous movies, they'd really run with the melding of man and machine with the music. There's, you know, Junkie XL was a big part of that. Don Davis, I believe, was and other big composers, and they used orchestral, but they also used a lot of electronica. And then I liked and hated their One Pill Makes You.
Oh yeah. White Rabbit.
Yeah, the White Rabbit. I loved and hated it because it did fit the moment, but it just felt so poppy, and I never felt like Matrix went out to be poppy. I think the film did suffer from the other Wachowski not being there. Uh, I feel like they really that there was a piece missing there, and that if they had been there, the second and third acts probably would have been much better.
Like you, I really, really dug the first act. I thought the first act was one of the greatest movies about a movie ever.
Yeah.
It was almost a documentary. It was so really, really good. And I keep going back to one of the dialogues that the new Agent Smith is having with Morpheus. When, spoiler alert, where they're going through the dialogue. And he says, you know, the studio that owns the Matrix said they were going to do it with us or without us, and that we could do it and be a part of it. Sometimes I think you need to let someone else take the reins. If your only intention is to control the story, right? Maybe sometimes you got to let go. So there, I mean, there are a ton of other science fiction directors in the last 10 years who have emerged, who were probably very, very heavily influenced by The Matrix and would not have made this movie.
Yeah. I feel like Neil Blomkamp could have had an amazing take on this.
You said Nick?
Neil
Okay, what did he direct?
Chappie.
I thought it was okay. I thought it was Nick. Are we sure it's you know, if both of you are agreeing with it, I'm going to say 100% that it's Neil. No, but I'm
just going to agree with whatever Jacob says.
So the director of Elysium, the director of Chappie, the director of District 9, he was who I was thinking as well. I think that
Neil.
he is a hell of a great director, and I think that he would have done wonderful things with the story, with or without Morpheus, with or without Trinity, with or without Neo. And I think maybe as a fan, we should have listened to Lawrence Fishburne and said, no, I'm going to stay on TV. So any idea why Lawrence Fishburne wasn't a part of this, other than maybe he has some integrity?
Because, well, it could be that he didn't want to be, but it's also there was the online MMORPG of the Matrix, and towards the end, Morpheus was killed. And so coming into this movie, this is a memory that Neo created for the game, as well as a melding of the original Agent Smith. Some of that code had ended up inside of Neo. I think they explained, and he used some of that code and his memories of Morpheus to create this movie's reincarnation of Morpheus.
So at least they stuck with the canon, right? Like in a very real way, they didn't go for an easy money grab, I guess.
Yeah,
I was.
And then
go ahead.
They were supposed. I totally spaced his name. I'm a terrible person for it. The original Agent Smith. They were trying very hard to get him to come back. It's just the schedule did not work out because of he was locked in on some other performances, and they just could not make it happen. They did try very hard, is my understanding, and they really did want him, but
at least they gave us flashbacks.
Yeah,
that's true. If you can't get Lawrence Fishburne because he's busy on doing TV stuff, then why not get the flashback?
There were
I-
a lot of damn.
There were
Yeah.
some things, there were some inconsistencies that I wanted to speak to you two about because A, you're both way smarter than me, and B, y'all are like cretins of the genre. So what I didn't understand is that Keanu Reeves, right? The actor is almost 60 years old, which means that the character of Neo would also almost be 60 years old.
Or isn't it more like 160 years old?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, he's kind of 60 something. I don't know. I don't want to do the math on the years. It's weird. But what I didn't understand was he still moved like a man who's played, you know, like Neo and John Wick for the last 20 years. Like he moves like a guy that's been getting beat up in films for the last 20 plus years. In my opinion, keep in mind, just a guy, shouldn't he have moved like he wasn't almost 60 years old and been Neo and John Wick for the last 20 years?
Yes. I think that can be explained that, you know, because he died, he had this massive reconstruction. So on some level, his brain is aware of that massive reconstruction, and it probably wasn't perfect cellular reconstruction.
So we're speculating though. But
Yeah,
we're
we're
speculating on cellular reconstruction inside of the matrix. So even when he's plugged in, he's moving like he's still injured, which makes more sense when you put it that way. When you look at him on the treadmill and on the elliptical, he's moving like R2-D2. He's moving like it hurts him to move in real life. I don't know. I just feel like he should have moved like a panther. And the only thing that he did, like, to kick any ass was that, which, by the way, there were some cool there were some cool moments in the Aryuken fireball but no fireball scene. There was in the one big motorcycle scene, right? Because it's a Matrix film, Trinity needs her motorcycle scene. Totally cool. It wouldn't be a Matrix film without it.
Right.
I don't know where so that final where he's throwing the air balls, right? There were a couple of scenes in that, the flipping of one of the flippings of the cars, but that really seemed to be the only thing that he did. That and body shots, like he could rock 'em, sock 'em robot, where he came from like kung fu. I don't know. There were a lot of inconsistencies in the film for me.
Yeah. I felt like they were trying to portray him as having evolved consciously above the need, beyond the need for guns.
Ooh.
Either that or like in,
You know, I felt that there was kind of a wokeness push there to, like, he's, you know, this is for the basic humans. He's evolved beyond the need for this.
Beyond punchy kicky. Like
Yeah,
he's
punchy kicky.
he's you know, he's Aryukens.
I kind of
Shout out to the new Kicky Punchy podcast.
Thank you
I
very
kind of
much.
thought that what they might have been doing there was they were obviously they were cloning, reconstructing Neo, and everything that he had learned or had downloaded in his mind, because in the original it was downloaded, right?
Yeah.
All the martial arts knowledge and the weapons knowledge was downloaded, so all of that had been erased, and when they reconstructed him, all of that was gone. That was my take on
Or
it.
scarred off in his psyche.
Or it could have been scarred off on psyche. Yeah.
There are a lot of, there are a lot of questions that remain to be answered, but I think that they were kind of left unintentionally ambiguous. Like, but I feel like it could have been a story that was told in a TV series.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Like, absolutely.
I really felt like the first act was everything
That the movie should have been.
that Wachowskis were passionate about.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was just kind of, okay, now we're going to do the Matrix movie.
Well, let's go back though. So this film started filming, if I'm not mistaken, in around October 2019, right? When they started doing basic shooting. Like this is a COVID movie. So there might have been some other ideas. There might have been some different scenes that were originally blocked. that they were going to make, but for whatever reason now they can't do it. I did think there was one of the scenes where they were botting it out, like there were bots in the street. And I thought, wow, isn't it crazy that they're all equally spaced out about 2 meters, which would be about 6 feet, just a staggered 6 feet column. So, I mean, I'm sure that
They
like
took
that,
it and turned it to their favor.
yeah, I'm sure it would have looked completely different had this thing never happened. But that being said, I do kind of want to use this as the segue into the other film, which Jace, you haven't seen, and that's Iron Skies 2, A Coming Race. Now, I don't feel, I think it helps if you saw the first Iron Sky to kind of get a better understanding of like how we got on a dilapidated Nazi moon base. You might want to know how you got there. But I don't think you necessarily need to know how you got there to enjoy this film. And
Yeah, I told Dad to just go watch it.
yeah,
It has dinosaurs in it. You know, you don't need much more than that.
yeah, it has dinosaurs on a moon base. Like dinosaurs, oh dude, it's got Hollow Earth. It's got so much going on. It's
Lizard people.
lizard people, like in a very, very real way. The director of the Iron Skies series could have made a better Matrix movie. And you saw that because this was definitely a film that was heavily influenced by the things they did in the Matrix, by the technology that had to be invented. And so the Iron Sky series really does the next thing versus, and I saw that same Corridor Crew that you did, that you referenced earlier. I watched it with my wife, and yeah, so it's like, well, they slowed down this, and then they did this, and then they did this, and I was like, I don't even want to finish watching the video about how much this sucks.
Yeah.
You know, for me, yeah, I think the Iron Skies film was definitely more enjoyable than the new Matrix, but I think that it's one of those things that I'm glad that I watched it now and not when it came out.
Yeah.
So that the Iron Sky sequel, for those of you that haven't seen it, was supposed to come out in 2016, but it kept getting pushed back. It was a crowd-funded movie, so like you got to wait until you have some more money so that you can do this thing, and then you got to do this thing, and you got to do this thing, and so it took a little while for the film to come out, and you know, almost 3 years after it came out, I think it's a better film than when it came out in 2019.
I don't think the backers have seen any of the rewards they were promised for backing it yet, though.
That's because I looked into the film as well, and one of the problems with crowdsourcing films is that sometimes, or crowdsourcing anything, you might not get the thing that you wanted, right?
Yeah.
So I think that with a film like another crowdsourced film, Kung Fury, I think that one of the great selling points of that is that the film is only like 30 minutes, and it didn't need to be more than that. If you told the Kung Fury story for an hour and a half, I wouldn't care at all. All right, I mean, like, I'm done. I can't. There's only so long I can do Vikings on dinosaurs with Uzis. All right, I got 10 minutes of that in me max. I don't need it for 45. Maybe I do need it for 45. Giant Viking.
Jace has an idea.
What if they'd have broken it down I mean, in the TV series, how would you have liked it to go? Would you have liked it to tell a whole new story, or would you wanted to continue to see Neo and Trinity?
I would have liked it if they had gone and done some of the stories from the comic book. The graphic novel had some stories from the Robot Uprising. It had stories of the previous Neo. And stories similar to what we saw in the Animatrix, which was freaking phenomenal. If you have not seen the Animatrix, watch it. If you like to read comics, like graphic novels, read the graphic novel. All the stories are fantastic. There's so much passion going on around that time with, for the Matrix animation. Yeah. I would have liked to see them go back and touch on some of those stories and give us some more of what they had in the Animatrix. Which I
I
think
also
Love and Robots. I think that kind of has
A few of
been,
the episodes,
yeah, it's kind of similar to what
especially
they
in
had with
this,
the Animatrix.
especially in the second season. I
Yeah.
think.
That's on Netflix.
okay.
It's a bunch of short stories.
Okay. So aside from the Matrix, not liking the new Matrix, is there anything out there that you would that you did like that you would recommend?
Dudes, it is on Tubi and I believe Amazon Prime. It's got
Peacemaker. I'm sorry.
no worries. Oh, Peacemaker. Peacemaker's on HBO Max. John Cena's a gem. But Dudes is kind of a punk western road revenge movie. I can't think of anything really to liken it to beyond that. John Cryer as a punk, his buddy Milo, played by Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers, gets killed and he's got to go and avenge his death. I can't remember the other actor's name, and it's terrible of me, but it's so much fun. The soundtrack's fantastic because it's a mix of punk and heavy metal, and just yeah, it's a really cool little film.
Okay. I just discovered Italian Spider-Man.
You sent me the trailer for it. I haven't watched it yet, but
And just as cool as Italian Spider-Man is the soundtrack for Italian Spider-Man, which is it's really cool, like Italian jazz pop. And
yeah,
the songs are sung by people who probably don't speak English, but are like saying the phrases. Oh, come on. You know, you
That's
get it,
gonna be-
girl. Ha!
that's one of the best reasons to watch anime. You get the Japanese people and then they bust out the English, like Maximum the Hormone.
The music from Iron Skies too. Also, the music I think was important to mention. The music was well. They made music for the film. Like the songs were the story of the film. You know, and
Yeah.
then this happened. Da 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 da. It's like all right. It's very German. Like we're gonna sing a song for the adventure. Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of Spiderbait.
What?
The band Spiderbait. I don't know if you ever seen Eight-Legged Freaks at the end. The itsy bitsy spider. I believe it was Spiderbait that did that song. But the delivery and kind of tongue in cheekiness of it, yeah, the music was really good, dude. The acting was phenomenal in that. Like it did not deserve the. Yeah, I love that. That was.
We're still talking about Eight-Legged Freaks, right?
Yeah. An Iron Sky, but yeah,
Iron
the acting
Sky
in
was-
Iron Sky,
Okay.
that was phenomenal.
So I want to talk real quick about Kit Dale in Iron Sky. Now, in Iron Sky, he is the big bumbling giant, like the extra good-looking muscle guy, right?
Uh-huh. He's
So,
moving the stickers on the Rubik's Cube.
so Kit Dale is a world champion jiu-jitsu fighter, right? So his regular job when he's not like big jacked and scary is actually choking people and breaking them. By the way, I thought he was incredibly charming in that film. Like I don't know why
Yes.
he isn't in more stuff after watching.
Seriously.
If any, like I have some jujitsu people I know that listen to this podcast. If any of you know Kit Dale, tell him to do more acting. Tell him he's
Yeah,
great.
get in the MCU.
Oh
He
my
would be
gosh.
perfect. Guardians of the Galaxy. Get
You
him
know
in
what?
Moon Knight.
I think that we deep fake it and we make everyone in the MCU Kit Dale just based off the limited footage of like jujitsu tournaments and that movie. Even worse if we just use just that movie. like because it's absolutely limited to whatever, like the AI is limited to what we've got, like that's their baseline for him. Because we don't need him like bending someone backwards to do any, like, no, we don't need him rubber. We just need him in this one and this sort of mechanical in the suit thing, but he is everybody because he'd be a perfect Iron Man.
Yeah.
Doesn't move a whole lot.
I might watch this tonight.
Yeah.
You
yeah,
should.
I'm down.
I might actually look up and see if somebody's made a VHS edition from all the trailers. Sorry, go ahead.
So the film, Iron Sky 2 they've rained poop on it in Rotten Tomatoes. And one of my problems with Rotten Tomatoes and any of these sort of film judgment zones is that it doesn't like necessarily change over time. Like there's going to be so outweighed and skewed by like the first 100,000 people that shit on this film in the first month that it'll take a while to outnumber that with no, well, really, it wasn't that bad. Let's look at some of the movies that have come out since then that kind of had a similar premise and haven't necessarily been as good or as funny, or, I mean, it's an entertaining film. It's an all-around entertaining film. And I think a better way to spend your time is on your way to a grocery store to buy whatever it is that you're going to lube your brain up with before you watch this movie, than to sit down and watch the new Matrix over.
The dinosaur effects were very nearly Jurassic Park level. The scene with the raptors occasionally was a little awkward, but with the T-Rex, whoever was doing the CG for that was throwing down. I was impressed. For a crowd-funded movie, they went balls out on that. That was gnarly, dude.
Well, it was a labor of love. People were really dedicated to making this film. They were so enamored with the first one. I think part of the problem is people had people really were so enamored with the first one that, you know, when it came time for the second one, they're like, okay, well, what are you going to do? And it's sort of like the Matrix going into the Matrix 2. Maybe if I went back and I watched the second Matrix, it wouldn't be such a steaming pile of shit. But the last time I watched it, I really just dig the highway scene. Like that was pretty much it for me.
That's all anybody really remembers
twins.
from that one. Yeah.
That's been a big complaint about this Matrix. They didn't have the twins in it. They had the Merovingian, but they didn't have the twins.
Twins would have been cool. Yeah, the Merovingian was cool. So I don't know. I think that Iron Sky 2 is better than the new Matrix. But I think that the mistake that people made is comparing it to the first Iron Sky. So don't watch the first Iron Sky but if you have, understand that this is a different story. This is 50 years, 60 years, 70 years down the road. Like this is a long time after this thing happened. This is, this is a completely different story. And I really do wish the last Matrix was a completely different story. You could have done a really good series. So the Matrix film, this particular one, cost something like $200 million to make. The Iron Sky 2 cost $17 million to make. You could have made a series of Matrix movies. Like, what does it cost for what is an episode of Mandalorian cost? By the way, I really do like the new Boba Fett. I know we didn't start this conversation off with deciding to talk about Boba Fett, but I really like the Boba Fett movie.
We haven't started Boba Fett yet. Jason was on lockdown for like a week, but that is high on the list. Have you seen any of Peacemaker?
No, I have not.
You might enjoy it.
I like the Peacemaker character. I hate John Cena, like the Peacemaker character.
So Mandalorian's 15 mil per episode.
Okay. So wow. I have a harder time believing that Iron Sky cost $15 million to make. No, it was okay. Well, the thing about I don't even know if you're necessarily thinking about salaries at this point. Like I know it includes salaries, it's got to include effects, it's got to include everything, what everybody's getting paid. But you could have made a Netflix TV, or you could have made a Matrix TV series for less than it costs to make that movie, and it would have been a lot better, and you could have done a whole lot more with it.
Yeah.
And I get it, it's the Wachowskis, baby. But just
But
because
it was only one of them. You know?
and then it's like a conversation about pro-life and pro-choice. Like only one of us gets a say in it, but one of us is like, listen, I don't want anything to do with this. This is a bad idea. Neither of us really want to do it. Let's not make this kid. But then Lana's like, no, if we don't do it, then someone else is going to raise it. Sometimes someone else should raise the baby. That's all I'm saying. All right. And in this case, I'm glad Jon Favreau is raising the baby that is the Star Wars series now, and that Kathleen Kennedy seems to be gone.
Yeah, no, he's carrying the franchise right now.
Dude, I want them to make a Kyle Katarn. I can't remember how to say his last name. Star Wars Dark Forces. It was a Doom clone from Lucasfilm Interactive, but I told this story of Kyle Katarn, who originally, before pre-Disney, he was one of the big factors in them getting the Death Star plans, and he had force powers, lightsaber, but it escaped the culling. But really cool little story. I wanted a reference to him in one of these.
It might
I'm glad
happen.
you did. I got to throw in a spoiler alert in this. Are either of you guys familiar with Doom, the Doomcock YouTube channel? Not ringing a bell? Okay. Well, now everyone who's listening to this knows I watch Doomcock on YouTube, as you should too. So there are some street bad guys in Boba Fett, and they're spray painting up, or they're space spray painting their tag on these folks' walls. And when they break down they're like, this planet's alphabet, it's 2 Ks, and it's supposed to be like a reference to Kathleen Kennedy being the bad guy.
Interesting.
Oh my god, I love that.
Shenanigans.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing that now.
So the first episode was directed by Robert Rodriguez of
Desperado.
Yeah. The second episode was,
Mariachi.
I can't recognize, but the third episode was back to Robert Rodriguez. So I like that the guy that did El Mariachi, that the guy that did Once Upon a Time in Mexico, the guy that introduced the world to Antonio Banderas and machine guns.
Yeah. And Guitar Case is full of rocket launchers and grenades.
Hey, you know what? If he can bring back the revolver cod piece for the Mandalorian. So that was in not El Mariachi. It was the one that came out in Desperado. It was Desperado, and then it came again in From Dusk Till Dawn. But there are at least 2 movies with the cod piece, and I'm sure Machete probably had I'm sure I missed his pistol cod piece.
Oh, I forgot to shout something out too. Battle Angel Alita.
Good movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
He did do that, didn't he?
He did do that.
He
And there's
yes,
talks about the sequel happening.
talks about it being actually made into a short series.
Yeah. Be awesome.
I like that, man. My
Yep.
the only thing
He's the Mexican Neil Blomkamp, or Blomkamp's the South African.
so I don't know of Neil before District 9, and that's like 2009. I don't know. I couldn't tell you anything he did before that.
Commercials, I believe.
So I'll go with the South African, and Robert's from Austin. He's a Texan.
Oh,
Mm,
did he go back and forth between Mexico
probably,
and?
probably. I would assume so. He's
Because I thought his first film was in Mexico.
probably, and it was probably a lot cheaper to make it there.
Yeah,
Oh,
Like-
and not as many safety features.
Not as many like safety rules. Yeah, like $18,000 in an action movie will get you pretty far in 1992 in Mexico, especially if you know what you're doing. So I mean, you think about was it Machines of War from which I believe was shot in Vietnam, but it was made with $1.5 million. I'm sure like the folks that did special effects on it were like paid as the money came, like take 50 now, I'll take 100 later. I'll take 100 now, I'll take 50 later.
Did you
And
watch that one?
which
Machines of War. It's got like, was it 4 robots got paradropped?
3 or 4,
Is that
and
the one
there's
we
a lot of
watched?
gore, and there's like weird relationships. Like there's a whole lot going on in this film, right? But
that was
just
the crowdfunded one we watched.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
crowdfunded.
That was.
Who was the big white actor?
yeah, and then there's that one guy that's in it by himself.
Yeah,
Talking into the phone.
yeah, yeah.
That made me remember it.
Great. That was
Not the robots. No, just
that was
The white guy talking to the phone.
that was like rappers paying for features. They're not friends. Those two aren't really friends. He's only doing that because he got paid.
Exactly.
Like the $60,000 got into my account. Why, of course, with a phone in a room. Why, yes. Let me just be handsome and answer the phone. Yeah. Send the drone. Yeah, he's got. There's nothing on the other line. Maybe there's someone on the other line saying, "And now say this." Send the drones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's Bruce Willis sci-fi that we're watching. It's terrible, except for Bruce Willis's parts.
he barely saved that movie.
He didn't save it. It's worth watching his scenes.
Well, that's what I mean. It's barely worth watching, and only because of him.
Yeah.
Okay, so what movie is this?
He's on a spaceship, and then they crash land on this planet. Bruce Willis.
The Fifth Element.
There's a bunch of space zombies.
I only know two languages. Breach. English and bad English. And then he's in a movie with Frank Grillo called Cosmic Sin. Makes me want to watch it.
That'd be a good band
Cosmic
name.
Sin, the movie. That would be a good band name.
Yeah.
It's a good thing the missus is already pregnant, because if I put on Cosmic Sin, maybe I can get her pregnant now and just have like another one on the way.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. So I'm going to
Thanks,
share this on here because my wife doesn't listen to the podcast, so I can talk about this.
This is a safe space.
This is it. Nobody listens to this.
Till the algorithm decides to cut out key parts and feed it to us. But,
So she said that I could pick whatever I wanted for the middle name if she got to pick the first name. So the name that she picks is Gabriel. I like Godzilla. I also like knowing that my name is going to be like my child is going to be partially named after G.G. Allen.
yeah.
And I've watched a G.G. Allen documentary with my wife. So it's been a while and it was very late when we watched it. However, I don't think she'll ever forget that she watched a man take a poop on a stage in front of a crowd and throw it at people. She won't forget that. She'll remember that.
Gigi was a performer's performer.
Just real quick, Gabriel.
Make sure you got all your shots.
Just another name to consider might be Van Helsing. for the middle name. You can make it just one name. Van Helsing. Just say it quickly.
He's just my son Gabriel Van Helsing. He's Dutch. He likes wooden shoes and Gouda
And killing vampires.
and killing vampires. He's one of the favorite. His shoes have slightly, they have spikes on the end of them. They're sharpened tips, so he can practice his. He's another thing that Dutch are very big with is kickboxing. Dutch kickboxing is very, very serious sport with us. So I
imagine how much better Van Helsing would have been if that was in it.
Clogs.
I wish
With
I knew how to
spikes.
direct a movie and write a crowdsourcing. Like, we should find someone who can make this movie, who can
We
make
got friends.
our Dutch kung fu movie.
The movie where the girl gets dropped out of the plane.
Yes, yeah.
Talk to them.
Peaks and Valleys.
Peaks and Valleys. Gotta talk to those guys again.
Yes. Yeah. How do we make this? How do we make a Dutch kickboxing movie where Van Helsing has wooden shoes that he uses to kill vampires with? I mean, like, he's like, okay. I mean, does it have to be a stake through the heart? Like, if it's a stake through an artery, like, it's still got to hurt him real bad.
If it's silver and it's an artery, yeah, because it's gonna hit the blood, and that should.
We can
If you
pretty
go by
much
Blade rules.
we can make up our own rules to it. Everybody else does.
They're vampire movies. Like, who's the one person that's gonna get upset? Like, is a dead Romanian. You know, like, he's cool. He doesn't care anymore.
Yeah. I want to see the movies capture the fact that, vampires can't see their reflections only in mirrors that have been made. Mirrors originally were made with silver as the backing, and that's why vampires couldn't see themselves in it, because it was silver, and silver could harm vampires and stuff. So vampires should show up in modern mirrors. So I always thought that should be a point where there's this old house and he inherited this mirror from his grandmother, and that's how they find out who the vampires are, because they have one of the old silverback mirrors instead of.
I dig it.
But that's hold that plot.
No,
Probably
we
shouldn't
gotta
share that,
include that.
so that we got dibs on that, fools.
Every time someone says silverback, a gorilla comes out of nowhere like Jumanji. And it's like,
Ooh,
and it's
talked
Silverback.
about
vampire
books about
gorillas. Vampire gorillas. And when they look at their reflections in regular mirrors, they freak the fuck out.
Yeah. I shouldn't be seeing myself. What is up with this?
Time to rip off arms.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And gotta get Kit, what's his name, to be in it?
Kit Dale.
Kit Dale. Okay, I'm gonna remember that
As you should. As you
for
should.
the next 5 minutes.
Watch the film and you won't forget it. I think it's the only, like, if you go to his IMDb page, I think it's the only film there that isn't like a jujitsu competition.
Okay.
Which I didn't know those you could find on IMDb.
IMDb.
But if it
Yeah,
airs,
man, they're awesome now.
if it airs somewhere, then it's a thing. I'm sure.
Yeah, Born a Champion, Beyond the Water's Edge, and Rule of Thirds. Those all sound like fight movies. Born a Champion sounds kind of cool though. 2021 action drama.
Yeah, but it's only because he made this film. Because he made the masterpiece that is Iron Sky 2.
Yeah, dude, I was really.
That's the title of this episode. Iron Sky 2 is better than The Matrix.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, there you go. Jace, are you going to watch the film?
I'm absolutely gonna watch the film. It's been on my watch list for a while. We just have so much
Yeah, we'll probably watch
on
that.
our collective watch lists to
That-
get through.
Yeah, we're gonna watch that.
But I'm
tonight.
gonna bump it up.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, I'm
definitely.
going to go and I'm going to watch Dude. Because who doesn't want to see John Cryer and Flea? Who doesn't love Flea? Dogs.
Seriously.
Dogs hate Flea.
That's true. But man, he can tickle that base like nobody's business.
Yep, as long as he's not tickling a dog, the dog doesn't mind Flea. It's just when the
Yeah.
the Flea's tickling dogs. And I think that if Flea the bassist were tickling a dog, the dog would be fine. He's probably got real nimble fingers.
I think so.
Real fast.
Yeah, him and Square Pusher,
Just,
but it's crazy.
just
I'd like to see a
Tickling dogs.
competition. That would be a cool competition. A bunch of bassists, and they have to go and pet dogs and see who makes the dogs the happiest.
Flea's dog would just start singing a song that they could record and put on the album.
Yeah.
and that's when it turns out like the Red Hot Chili Peppers have dumped Anthony Kiedis and replaced him with a Basset Hound.
Dude, have you heard any of John Frusciante's heroin albums?
So I know that I need to. My brother, who, by the way, my big brother, I think is the man who I most use to define what is cool at any point in my life. Like, he's the guy that introduced me to the Wu-Tang Clan. He's the guy that introduced me to Ice-T. He's introduced me to a lot of really cool stuff. And like you said, there just becomes like this list, right? You got to go to the list. But he said the first of the Heroin albums was like one of the best rock albums of all time.
Yeah, it's yeah, experimental and raw and just really well done. You know, for some dude jonesing for a fix and cutting an album just to feed his fix, it's pretty good stuff.
So I think some of Basquiat's stuff is the stuff that he made to buy drugs. Like some of his like the stuff that people are most interested in was the stuff that he made specifically because he needed drugs, because he needed cocaine, because he needed whatever it was that he was trying to get high on. So
I think that's pretty much any Omar Rodriguez Lopez album.
I don't know who that is.
Oh my God, the band name just totally. Lead guitarist who did At the Drive-In. They started out at the Drive-In, and then this is terrible. I should know this just off the top of my head. One of the albums was Goliath. I gotta look him up real quick.
You're supposed to know this.
I know. This is terrible.
Know this.
I'm on medication for some Mars Volta for some issues with asthma. I had a really bad asthma attack, so it's all this stuff. Mars Volta, freaking love them, but they were definitely heavily influenced by drugs when you listen to the music. Not in a bad way. I love the music. It's amazing.
Now, Chase, you were going to say something before your brother so rudely interrupted you?
Oh no, I was gonna circle back to like the Matrix, and I was curious to get your opinion. What would you have done other than like not making the movie? What would you have done to make it a better experience for the viewers?
I go back to that very same conversation where they had, like, well, we're gonna make it with somebody else. I remember talk around the time that The Phantom Menace came out, and the idea was that someone other than George Lucas would be directing part 2 and part 3, and that some unnamed director, it might be Spielberg, it might be so-and-so. But how glorious could it have been if the man that directed Saving Private Ryan, like, we're talking about war movies. We are talking about war movies with combat scenes, with drama. The man that directed Saving Private Ryan, the man that directed Schindler's List, telling that story. Can you imagine if that man directed the youngling scene? Everything leading up to that? Fuck George Lucas for denying us that. Fuck him and his stupid ego. But yeah, like, I would have had some. Yeah, dude. Oh my gosh. Why not? Anybody. Really? Well, I don't know. I've never seen him do like sci-fi. But going back to Spike Lee, I've never seen him do sci-fi. But like but Neil the South African. I would have had Neil the South African do that. I would have, you know what, looking back, I would have asked Jon Favreau what he would have done and taken some notes. But I would not have had one of the Wachowskis do this under any circumstances. It's their baby, and I would give them some sort of like appeal, like give them a list, give them a look at the script, maybe have them come in for a couple of scenes that you think might matter to them.
Yeah.
You know, how do you think that this, especially if you're addressing a character that the sisters wrote about, if you're doing that, you know, I think you can do it. I don't think George Lucas, when he watches The Mandalorian or he watches the story of Boba Fett or the Book of Boba Fett, I don't think he's upset when he watches it. I know that as a fan, I'm not. I know that I've probably invested an hour and a half. I don't know how long these episodes are. 45 minutes for Book of Boba Fett. Let's say it's 45 minutes. That means I'm like 2 hours invested, whatever. Not upset. Like, definitely not as upset as I was at the last 3 Star Wars movies. That's time I can never get back. It's like negative energy that I wish I never had. Like, I'm so angry about these films, but it's not anything I can get back. It's a waste of energy to be angry and upset about them. However, I can look on to better things. Like what is Neil the South African doing now that we brought him up? I like that Robert Rodriguez is involved in Boba Fett. Stories are being told by people who appreciate the stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
I liked the last Mortal Kombat movie because watching that, it felt like at least the people who were making the movie, at least at one point in their life, played the video game and liked it. The dude that plays the Highlander should never play an Asian dude as well. All right.
Mortal Kombat.
I am Raiden.
Oh my gosh, have you ever seen Beowulf with him as Beowulf?
No, I'm not going to either. That's time I'm never.
No,
I don't know
you
when
need
I'm
to
gonna
watch
die.
it, sir. You need to watch it.
Jace,
It
I know.
It even has the same intro as Mortal Kombat. They just changed you need to watch this movie. It's amazing. You need to do it. You don't need to be sober.
By the way,
I am Beowulf.
I didn't know this was a thing until very, very recently.
Full extract cannabis.
Yeah, but that's 7 grams, right?
Fireweed.
That is.
So it's made with the syrup?
No, not at all. Not at all, sir. So this tests out at about 55% THC. So this is over 3,500 milligrams of cannabis. I didn't know this.
Okay.
I didn't know that's the most you can buy in a day. Also, this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, like there's a cap. I bought a bottle of lemonade and I was like, I'd also like to buy the Fico oil. And the lady said, I can't sell that to you because then you would have hit your max for the day. And I was like, oh no. Well, I'm gonna take the lemonade so I can go to sleep. But I'll be back. And I was. And I
love
like
your
that.
shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So I got this from the On It Academy in Austin, Texas, many years ago. So my friend Curtis, he runs 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu in Austin. For a while, it was part of the 10th Planet. I think it's still part of the 10th Planet facility in some roundabout way. I don't know. I haven't been down there into the new facility. I haven't been down there in a few years. I'll be going down there in March. I don't know if I'll still wear this probably. I know it's falling apart. I don't care if I don't look like one of the cool kids. I'll be like, no, it's like falling apart. I've had it for a long time. See, that's how you know I love you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's awesome.
Hug me, Aubrey Marcus. Hug me. Like he doesn't like rent it anymore, but I'll just hang out in front of his house. Just Aubrey Marcus, just hug me. He's not gonna be there. He'll be like on vacation doing like Aubrey Marcus stuff, like hunting bears and drinking ayahuasca. I'll just be hanging out.
You should get a big cardboard cutout of you and plant it in front of his house.
He'll see it on his security cam as he's on vacation.
Dear Aubrey, wish we were both here. We could
Exactly.
be best friends. That wouldn't be creepy at all.
Yeah, we should look into how much it would be to get giant life-size cardboard cutouts. Of.
Should get the ones with the little
Not
motors
giant, life-size.
so that their hands go
Life-size.
like this.
That'd be cool.
And we got like 40 of them half size though.
Little army.
I like that. I like that. I've always what the
Whew. What were you about to say?
what's what I'd look like as a little person, but yeah, not to be offensive.
Well,
So you know what I saw in Russia? Not like I saw it when I was in Russia, but I saw it thanks to Russia, because there are a lot of things in the world that you kind of get to say, I saw this thanks to Russia. Midget MMA.
Yeah, you sent me, dude. That throw was wicked, and
Yeah,
the dude just bounced right back up and went swinging.
yeah.
That looked a little mismatched, but man, he was not holding back.
Okay, but you can't have the same like weight standards when it comes to little people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many like I don't know what a heavyweight little person is versus like a bantamweight little person. But like I'm sure it's a more limited like selection of
Market.
fighters. So yeah, that little guy might have had 5 or 7 pounds on him, and it might have meant the difference. But like,
He had like 4 or 5 inches. It looked like.
there's that. Like that other guy was just short. Like the other one dude was a little person. The other guy was definitely just short.
Yeah,
Maybe not short. He was a big little person. The other person
Yeah.
was a little person. I got it.
yeah. But man, he just bounced right back up and was in under his guard.
can you show me this?
You know what? Now that I mentioned that, I'm gonna go ahead and download it, and that's gonna run on my green screen the whole time. I was thinking I was gonna use a shootout from here, but it's this. It's
I'm not
this.
sure if this is gonna show up just right.
I just it's weird. It's a dude in his underwear. Like it doesn't look
Yeah,
like a
I'm sending
guy
it
in
to you right now. It's on Instagram.
his- Okay. Well,
It's John Cena.
that was John Cena.
Yeah, just wait.
You
I
don't like John Cena?
I am not the biggest John Cena fan. And it doesn't really have anything to do with his recent stance about Taiwan not being a country. So I went to a professional wrestling event, and this is just an observation that I had about John Cena. There was special needs adults ringside at a WWE event. And I'm there and I'm just observing this because it's like it's way better. Like the ring is great. Like all the action going on is great. There's a reason the WWE guys are the big dick gangsters, right? Like they're really good at what they do.
They are athletes, period.
But the ring is way smaller than you expect it to be once you get there. Like when you see it, it's like that's the WWE ring. That's small. But there was a special needs adult, and he was in an Austin 316 shirt, a Steve Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I'm
So
sorry, ignore that.
Yeah, bleep that.
Please cut that out. That's probably a HIPAA violation.
that's how easy that happens.
Sorry, one of the guys I work with.
No, hey, stop! Shut the fuck up! I'm not doing that
Okay,
again.
okay.
So
No. Bill met him
Oh, you
when
met-
we
you
took
met
up
Pat?
in
Okay.
Anchorage. You met
so
this dude.
This dude, in the shirt, the dude, my guy, is screaming the worst shit at John Cena, right? And because he's got his Austin 316 shirt, I can only assume that this is his universe. Like he's in it for real. Like John Cena is fuck that guy. And so this guy was saying it with all of his heart. Like he meant it. Fuck you, John Cena. Suck my dick, John Cena. Fuck you. I hate you, you piece of shit, John Cena. The worst shit you could say to John Cena ever, right? And it was at that point, like, I know John Cena can't turn around and say anything, right? You're John Cena, the good guy. You cannot say anything. You just have to be the face. You have to be the good guy. You can't hear this kid. You're off in another planet where you're kissing babies. And that's when I realized I want at some point in my life to be so famous that a special needs adult can say the worst shit to me, like to me, that you could say to me, and I can't say or do anything about it. So one day I'm at a radio promo event, right? And I'm just gonna have to pretend that, like, for those of you at home who don't know me, in another life, I did radio. And I was at a live event, and this special needs adult essentially tells me that the guy who years later goes on to fire me is so much better than I am, and that's why he listens. And I couldn't say shit. Huh?
You know what the best part of the story is?
Yes. What is the best part of the story?
Jace,
Oh, yeah. We can't talk about that either. We can't talk about that either. For the same reason.
What's
For the
happening?
same reason that I had to edit out the last thing. So also, for those of you listening to the audio version of this, Jace has been drinking this whole time. So Jace's tongue is a little loosey goosey.
Oh.
Yeah, he knows who it was now. Who has his own podcast? The individual you're talking about, Jace, yeah, assists him with a podcast, music podcast.
I wish we could share it because
I
if you
talk
play
to him,
music,
he would probably be more than happy to.
Yeah, if you get permission from him and maybe his mom,
Oh, his mom will.
it's not a problem. We can't
talk about it
be
here at
involved
all.
in that process.
Yeah, I know. I understand that 100%. I understand that
Yeah.
100%. I'm saying I'm not going to edit any of this out because this band gave me like the greatest shot of like I still talk about it. I still talk about this particular moment, and I will for the rest of my life that this man gave me. It was so humbling because I couldn't say shit. Like, what am I going to say? Well, I can't. Like, anything I could possibly say in that moment would lead to like me A, getting fired, and B, being ostracized from this small community, which is exactly what would have happened if John Cena would have said anything.
Yeah. So after this,
Real talk.
Yeah, we'll share some stories because.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna because I don't think it's too late yet. And another thing that I thought I would share with anyone listening or watching now. I'm at home because someone in my house tested positive. Not me, not, you can't test positive if you're not getting tested.
And then there's been that research and articles showing that.
Yeah, I'm
marijuana
just at home
properties-
medicating. I'm at home medicating. That's
Yeah.
You know,
if you're
what
talking
else?
about the
too.
cannabis article, that's all I'm doing is I'm at home medicating and going on walk. I work from home, so like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna keep working from home.
Yeah.
I don't leave the house anyway.
I don't know. You got to come over. We'll have to go over for walks here soon.
Yeah, yeah. Are you sick as well? Are you?